Okay, so to continue our coverage over Judgment Day, we actually do pick up with X-Force. X-Force had a very interesting tie-in storyline for the Judgment Day event. Now, when it came to their storyline, it really dealt with the character known as Kraven. Yes, Kraven, a well-known Spider-Man villain, is for some reason gonna hunt down a bunch of mutants. But on top of that, we have to remember that recently Deadpool had rejoined the X-Force team. Now, this was actually a very huge thing because when it comes to Deadpool, Deadpool is not a mutant, he's a mutate. That is completely different. Either way, in the past, he was still part of the X-Force team. But because the new version of X-Force does take place on Krakoa, he was not allowed on the island because again, he's not a mutant. But Wolverine felt like, you know what? Let me go ahead and let Deadpool join the team. And so Deadpool is going to play a very important role for the storyline that is going to lead to Kraven trying to hunt down a bunch of mutants. Now, the opening pages also remind us that we're not going to see Kid Omega in this storyline. And the reason why, because he died in our last video. Because remember, Kid Omega did sacrifice himself to kill off an evil version of Cerebro. The problem with that though, his body was completely destroyed. Except we have to remember the X-Men do have the ability to bring you back to life by making you a new clone body and then downloading your memories into that new clone body. Except the problem is they must have your memories stored somewhere in Cerebro. And the problem was when it came to Kid Omega, every single thing they had stored about him was completely erased. And so unfortunately, if they do make him a new clone body, it'll just be a body and that's it. There won't be no actual Kid Omega brain inside of there. And so he's technically dead for good. And it bothers Wolverine so much. And the reason why, because when it came to Krakoa, it was promised to all mutants across the board that this was supposed to be paradise for the entire mutant race. And now Kid Omega is dead and cannot come back at all. But then we actually pick up with Kraven. And when we do, this is Kraven, well, just being Kraven. He's out there somewhere in the cold area, most likely the North Pole, just going around hunting different animals. Now, he does tell us that it was a very difficult time out there for him because just one weekend, his dogs died. And so, of course, his sled could go no farther. He then had to burn the sled to, well, keep himself warm. But then he had to find food. And so he began to hunt for different animals left and right. Now, I will admit, it's kind of cool seeing Kraven be, well, Kraven, like legitly Kraven, not super crazy. Except later on, he'll become a tad bit crazier. Either way, when it comes to Kraven, once he's able to kill off a bear, well, inside that bear, inside the bear, he finds Deadpool's head. And with him finding Deadpool's head, he's wondering, how in the world did your head get inside this creature's body? And that is when we jump back in time to lead ourselves into the idea of learning how in the world did Deadpool's head get inside the body of, well, a polar bear. Either way, when it came to us going back in time, we see Deadpool being on Krakoa, being one of the few people who is not a mutant to be able to be on the island. And when it comes to Deadpool, he does tick everybody off, and I mean everybody off. They're all annoyed by him. Now, Wolverine's not here, and the reason why, because while this storyline was taking place, so was Wolverine tie-ins to Judgment Day as well. And so for the time being, he's right now trying to help out Solem fight against the Hellbride and also try to kill a Celestial. And so right now, X-Force must work without Wolverine. Don't worry, he'll come back at the end of the storyline. Either way, it does seem like Deadpool is so annoying, but when it comes to X-Force, they do have some missions to handle, and unfortunately, they're gonna need Deadpool's help to accomplish those different missions. And so we kind of find out that one of the missions is that Angel has been taken as a hostage. Now, the reason why, because, as a matter of fact, this is a callback, but the reason why, because when it comes to the entire world, they now know that the mutant race has the ability to bring someone back to life. The problem is they can only do mutants, not humans. but the humans do not understand that at all. And so they're trying to force the hands of the mutants to start the process of trying to bring back different people who have died who are not mutants. Like, for example, Elvis. Either way, Angel was taken hostage to hopefully force the mutant hands. Luckily for Angel, X-Force came on the job. Black Tom and also Domino appear to go save Angel's life. But then we jump over to Omega Red and Deadpool. And when we do, we kind of find out they're going on the second mission X-Force has to handle. See, right now there's a huge trafficking ring when it comes to trafficking mutants. And right now there's a ship in the north area of the world that's trying to traffic a group of mutants. And so it's up to Omega Red and Deadpool to basically save those mutants. The problem is Deadpool is so freaking annoying that Omega Red gets tired of him so quickly that Omega Red stabs Deadpool to make sure he's one, stuck in the ground, but two, he cannot follow him on this mission, because Omega Red still wants to make sure the mission is accomplished, but at the same time he's annoyed with Deadpool. And so you have Omega Red go ahead and go on with the mission, but Deadpool is left behind, and then that's where the bear comes in, and we already know what happens next. Omega Red is able to finish the mission, but Deadpool is eaten by the bear, which was found by Kraven, where Kraven killed the bear and found the head of Deadpool. Now, getting back to the present day, we do see Kraven being able to find some kind of bar, some kind of town nearby to finally rest, get warm, but to also get a nice drink. Except when he does walk in, you do have other people in the bar talking about the mutant race by basically saying that the mutants are now the big dogs, the apex predators. And the reason why, because what they were able to accomplish in a short period of time as a nation. And so as soon as Kraven hears that the mutant race is now the apex predators of the world, he's all like, what did you say? They're what now? Oh, okay. Now I'm gonna go and hunt down some mutants. I'm gonna go to Krakoa. But when we jump into the next chapter, this is where we get reminded that this is not Kraven the Hunter. Matter of fact, this is his clone. So let me explain. When it came to Kraven the Hunter, he hated the idea that he only had a daughter to carry on his legacy. And so what he did was he made a bunch of clones of himself. Matter of fact, 87 of them. And so when it came to this Kraven right here, is one of the clones that the original one had made, because the original Kraven is dead at the moment when it comes to Marvel Comics. And so this is just a clone Kraven who's now big on the idea of just wanting to hunt down the mutants. But at the same time, it's the clone try to prove that even though he is a clone, he's still Kraven the Hunter. He's still a great hunter. He's not a ripoff from the original. And so we do kind of find out this now tells us it does take place in the present moment in Judgment Day. And the reason why I'm saying that, because you have Kraven actually go find the Celestial that is going around judging folks left and right, trying to decide what to do with this world. And Kraven, the clone Kraven, the last son of Kraven, goes over to the Celestial and takes off all his clothes and be all like, look at me. And this is him saying, I'm going to show you I am worthy. But then we jump over to Krakoa, and with this chapter now taking place in the present moment of the actual A.X.E Judgement Day event, it is Omega Red coming back with a ship that he had just stopped in the middle of the point where you have the Eternals attacking Krakoa, just going on left and right trying to get rid of the island completely. And so he does arrive. You have Sage and the rest of X-Force coming over to him and saying, hey, we need your help. Like, Krakoa is being attacked. All X-Force on deck right now to protect the island. And Omega Red says, hold up, I'll do that, but I want to torture this human that was going around capturing mutants left and right for his good old trafficking ring. So once I'm done killing him, then yeah, most likely I'm going to help kill lots of Eternals and protect this island. And so we jump back over to Kraven. Now, when we do, this is Kraven now asking the Celestial to go ahead and judge him. Now, the reason why Kraven wants this, because he wants to prove that he is more than just a clone. The problem is when it comes to the Celestial, well, he ignores Kraven completely, pretends that Kraven is not there at all. Now, as soon as Kraven realized that he's not going to be judged, he then says, you know what? I also realized that this god is basically nothing, because this god died. He was only brought back to life recently thanks to Iron Man and a few other characters, and that is it. So with that being said, why in the world should I care about what this god thinks of me or the rest of the world? And matter of fact, what I'm going to do is prove to the rest of the world that I am better than the original Kraven. I am more than just a regular clone. And what I'm going to do is write my own scriptures, but I'm gonna go after the mutant race, and this is a huge thing. And so now we know the reason why he'll be going over to Krakoa to hunt them down, but to prove that he is not just your regular clone. We then get reminded that when it comes to Omega Red and also Sage, they are most likely going to become a couple. Yeah, you heard that right. And the reason why, because Sage is trying to help Omega Red feel welcome on the island, but at the same time trying to understand how the man actually works, because she realized this man is lonely. He has no one to go to. And so it's her trying to open up to him, but also trying to have him open up to her. And so what she did was she turned the Shadow Room, which is basically the danger room for X-Force, and gave him access to the Shadow Room. So he's able to kill off people left and right, but without actually killing off real people. It's a way for him to work out his issues, but then to hopefully one day talk to Sage and to build a relationship with her. And so we then jump back over to Kraven. And when we do, we see Kraven studying the X-Force team. Matter of fact, he's studying mutants left and right that could be on Krakoa. And the reason why, because he knows which ones he wants to go after, but he also knows there are ones he might run into that he might not be able to handle. And so he's trying his best to learn everything he can before going over to Krakoa. Now, while he is studying, Deadpool is trying to put his body together. We come to find out there are more body pieces of Deadpool inside the polar bear that Kraven killed earlier, where he found the head of Kraven. Either way, you have Deadpool trying his best to put his body back together to the point where he is able. And when it comes to Kraven, he's okay with that, because he wants to see if he's able to take down Deadpool, but then once doing that, he's hoping to find a way to get over to Krakoa. But then we jump over to Beast and Sage, and when we do, it's the two of them right now disagreeing about the idea of what X-Force should be able to do. What I mean by that, Beast feels like X-Force should be able to do a whole lot more things as a way to protect the island. But unfortunately, a lot of times they have to go through the Quiet Council before they are able to accomplish different missions. And when it comes to Beast, he feels like that one, he is smarter than the Quiet Council, but two, he knows what's better for the island than the Quiet Council. And so he's saying, listen, if my job is to protect the island, then X-Force needs more ability to do what they need to do to protect the island. But for Sage, she's kind of like, see, you're getting darker and darker, because now you're just feeding on power. They gave you X-Force to control, and here you are now wanting more, to do something more, and that's not okay at all. And so now it's really the two of them just disagreeing on what X-Force should be. But at the end of the second chapter, we are seeing Kraven getting ready to go through one of the Krakoan gates to get onto the island. Now you're probably wondering, how in the world would he be able to get on the island? Because you have to be a mutant to use one of these gates. Well, he has Deadpool. Now, even though Deadpool is not a mutant, X-Force did tell Krakoa to allow Deadpool the ability to come to the island to use one of the gates, because now he's part of X-Force. And you have Kraven carrying the dead body of Deadpool as a way to trick Krakoa to let him on the island. And so with that happening, now you have Kraven about to begin his hunt. And so we do pick up with Kraven arriving on the island. Now, when he does, the first area he does discover is actually where they keep the eggs at. Now, these eggs are very important. The reason why, because when it comes to the eggs, they are used as a way to help grow the new bodies for people who are trying to come back to life. Except when Kraven finds the eggs, he's all like, you know what? Let me go ahead and just cut up these bodies. Kill them off right here and now to have a little small taste of my fun here on the island. Now, while he's doing that, Deadpool is trying to leave clues behind to tell X-Force what is happening, that Kraven is on the island. And so then we jump over to Omega Red and Sage arriving after Kraven had already left. Now, with that being said, when it comes to Sage, she believes that what happened in this room was done by the Eternals, because this storyline does take place right in the middle of A.X.E Judgement Day. Except you have Omega Red say, no, these dead bodies were not killed off by the Eternals. There is something else going on the island right now. And the question is what? But then they were able to find a clue that was left behind by Deadpool. And that tells both Sage and Omega Red that Deadpool knows something and they need to find him to figure out what's actually happening on the island. And so we jump back over to Kraven, and this is Kraven just going around killing off mutants left and right on Krakoa. Except while he is doing that, right before he does kill them off, he does ask them a very important question. And that question is, who is the best among you? I want to know who is your best fighter, your best killer, your best mutant. And unfortunately, everyone cannot give him a proper answer for so many different reasons. Either way, he does kill them off. But then we realize that Deadpool is no longer with him. And the question is now, where is Deadpool? And we come to find out that Deadpool was left behind, or his head was left behind on a pike. Now, luckily for him, the pike does get blasted over and he does fall to the ground. And with him being able to fall to the ground, he bites a vine. And the reason why? Because he knows that Black Tom is connected to the island. And Black Tom controls the ground. And so as soon as Deadpool does that, Black Tom appears. And this is Deadpool telling Black Tom, we got a problem. And so we pick up with Beast. And the reason why, because Beast has no idea that Kraven is out there right now. But one of the mutants that Kraven did study was Beast. And there was a very good reason why, because Kraven wants to know more about the Shadow Room. And remember, the Shadow Room is just the danger room for the X-Force to use as a way to train. And so right now, you have Kraven being able to sneak up behind Beast and put a knife against Beast's throat and say, you are going to show me how your Shadow Room actually works. We then jump over to Black Tom and Deadpool, and when we do, it's really more of Deadpool getting a new body from Black Tom just to use the time being, because until Deadpool is able to regrow his entire body, he needs a body to help out to fight against Kraven. And so Black Tom was able to make him a body out of dirt, wood, and other ground stuff. Either way, right after getting his new body, you have Deadpool say, you know what, it's time for me to go ahead and hunt down so-and-so. Now for Black Tom, he believed that Deadpool meant go ahead and hunt down Kraven. Except we come to find out, well, no, he meant to hunt down Omega Red. And the reason why, because Omega Red did technically leave him behind, stabbed him, had him stuck in the ground, and left him to die. Which of course he was eaten by a polar bear. And so this is Deadpool saying, no, forget about Kraven, I want revenge on Omega Red. And matter of fact, he does go after Omega Red. Now, this is where you have Wolverine finally coming back into the X-Force storyline, because his actual tie-ins had just wrapped up. He was able to deal with the Hellbride and come back to Krakoa. Except when he does, he realized something is going on with X-Force, and right now nobody can find Beast. And so you have Wolverine being able to find Beast and realize that Beast was taken to the Shadow Room. Except as soon as Wolverine walks into the Shadow Room, that is when Wolverine finds out the Shadow Room is now under Kraven's control, and he begins to start a whole new hunt in the Shadow Room, where now it's Kraven trying to hunt down Wolverine, but at the same time hunt down Beast as well. But his main goal is, well, of course, Wolverine, the best hunter on the X-Men roster. And so as we jump into the final chapter for today's storyline, we do pick up with Beast just trying his best to get away from the T-Rex that was created in the Shadow Room thanks to Kraven. Now Wolverine's also in the Shadow Room, just in a different area. And so right now he is trying his best to get over to Beast. Now when it came to the simulation that Kraven chose, it's really more of the Savage Land. And so you have this big area that Wolverine is going through just to get to Beast. Now Beast is still able to fight against the T-Rex. It's not like Beast was never a fighter on the X-Men. He used to fight alongside other X-Men characters a lot. He was one of the first 5 X-Men, and so he does know how to fight. The problem is though, by this point, he's more brain than brawn. Actually, he's been more brain than brawn, but he's no longer a fighter like he used to be in the earlier X-Men comics, but he's still able to get away from the T-Rex who is trying to eat him alive. And so we do jump over to Wolverine, and this is Wolverine just trying his best to get over to Beast. The problem is he has to go through so many different obstacles that Kraven is throwing at him when it comes to the different kind of things in this simulation. Either way, it's still Wolverine saying, I have to save Beast. I have to get to Beast. And so he's trying his best to get over to Beast, but at the same time, he's trying to call out to Sage to say, I need your help to shut down the Shadow Room, because right now we have a big problem. Beast could most likely get killed off here in the Shadow Room if you're not able to actually shut it down. Now, the rest of the book is really more of Wolverine finally being able to get to Beast. And once he's able to get to Beast, it leads into a battle between Wolverine and Kraven. And the battle does go on for a few pages. But again, it's just a way to see Wolverine fight against Kraven, and Kraven thinking that he'll be able to actually defeat Wolverine. We already know there's no way he'll be able to do that. Now at first, it did seem like he would, but it's Wolverine. And so he was able to overcome Kraven, but at the same time get Beast and get Deadpool, who was trying to get in there to help out Wolverine fight against Kraven. But either way, you have Wolverine and the entire X-Force being able to get out of the Shadow Room. And technically, Kraven was defeated in that battle between him and Wolverine. Now you're wondering what's going to happen to Kraven though. Now when it comes to the ending of this storyline, it does take place after the ending of Judgment Day. And so the world had technically been saved. Either way, when it comes to Kraven, he goes back to where that god was at. And once again, the god has been turned off. Either way, you have Kraven saying, you know what? Even though I failed at my hunt, surviving is still a victory. I was able to leave Krakoa and come back here without being murdered on that island. And so that is something to celebrate about. And matter of fact, it is. But the storyline ends on that note right there. So with that being said, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.